Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Morning Trading for Thursday, June 25th in the year of grace 2026. A trader by low trader, we had a real shift overnight. We've had a week that was pretty brutal on the markets, especially on the Nasdaq, and Micron has just completely turned everything around. So who is Micron? It's the memory giant, an American company. They reported a record-breaking quarter, and their stock is soaring by more than 12% afterwards. At the bell, we were especially at the lowest point of the session on the American indices, struggling around 29,260. We were about 50 to 55 minutes from the close. Things had come up just a little, and then boom! Micron released its results, which were exceptional, and that made everything explode. Asia is surging, oil is collapsing, gold is cracking. We're going to have these four important things happening. And then stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you a little anecdote about a forgotten chip that fits perfectly with what we're going to see today, and which has now actually become one of the most important chips in the world. So, as you understand, we have three main issues to look at. First of all, we have the rebound of chips and AI thanks to Micron. We're seeing a return of appetite, ultimately, for risk. In 48 hours, we switch. It's the end of the world. Companies are ruined. It's extraordinary. You absolutely have to put your money into it. And then we have American inflation. At 2:30 p.m., mark it in your calendar. It's going to be super, super important. I'll give you a quick overview of the markets then. Wall Street closed last night in a way that was cautious. We had the S&P at minus 0.10. The Nasdaq was losing almost 2,000%. Only the Dow Jones held up at plus 0.35. But Micron's results changed everything, and this morning it's euphoria, pure euphoria. North Korea, the COP6 on Monday, I'm not talking about a stock, I'm talking about Monday. It went up more than 5%. The 200 major stocks of the COP6 started rising extremely sharply. The Korean COPSE is very, very, very focused. It's artificial intelligence with Samsung, but very high tech. So that's normal. It's not an agricultural index. It's really an index that's very close to the Nasdaq. We have Samsung in particular, which gained 5%. The Japanese Nikkei is doing very well. So in Europe, yesterday, it was a bit of a complicated session. The CAC 40 gained 0.5%, and the DAX lost 0.71%. And the Euro stocks lost 0.26%. That was still just a few hours ago. Tech was tending to drag the markets down. Today's barometer, I suggest you pay special attention to oil, because the bet on Wolf, the price of a barrel of oil is completely collapsed. We're going to see Donald Trump triumphant. He had said, yes, the barrel will collapse. As soon as I reopen the Strait of Hormuz, that's what's happening. Well, everyone knew that, but what we didn't know is that it's dropping dramatically. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, we've fallen below $70 a barrel. American WTI, that's a level that is, thank you, below the level before the war and the problems in the Strait of Hormuz. Why? Because during this period, which was talked about a little but mostly stayed under the radar, the United Arab Emirates left OPEC. The purpose of OPEC is that they all agree on production levels. They don't produce more than a certain number of millions of barrels per day in order to keep prices high. I'm giving you the extremely short version. This allowed the United Arab Emirates to slam the door like that and say, now we're going to do whatever we want. The consequence of all this. And now there are potentially a lot more barrels of oil that could flood the markets, so supply increases relative to demand. For now, it remains the same. So prices are falling, and if prices drop even more, if prices are lower than before, the start of the war for consumers is thanks to the United Arab Emirates breaking away from OPEC. Basically, they want to double their production. They're saying, we have the potential, we'll double it. Oil will cost a little less. They made the deal, but since they're going to sell twice as much, they'll end up making a lot more money. So today's topic, I've already talked about it at least 3 or 4 times, is Micron. This manufactures a memory maker, those famous little chips. We have a bit of it in our computers. Well, it's not exactly the same, like RAM, etc. You practice a little, talk, and the numbers are absolutely spectacular. Their revenue reached 41.5, let's be precise, billion dollars. When we're talking in billions, the decimal point really matters. 41.5 billion in revenue. That's 3 times more than last year, just to give you an idea. It's colossal. Earnings per share, $25. Again, you had to invest in Micron. And well above expectations, so they are greatly rewarding their investors. And above all, what really made things explode was their forecast for the next quarter. Let me remind you that when there are forecasts, they say, here's what happened in the past quarter, our results. And our outlook, the outlook is especially tied to customer orders and possibly changes in their raw materials. And that depends on the company, but it's probably the thing investors watch most closely. The outlook for 3 months, 6 months, and in 3 months, Micron is thinking they are targeting $51 billion, while analysts were expecting more like $40 to $43 billion. That's 20% more, which is very rare. It's very rare. Usually, companies try to align themselves with analysts like Goldman. But here they're saying, you were completely off the mark. We're going to make way more money than that. Yalla, it's going from 2 to 43 to 51 billion. We're talking about a 20% difference, so it's this huge gap that set everything off. We'll see that in just a moment. On the charts, it took off right after Micron's results. And I have to say, because it's my favorite company, personally, it's Anthropic. I use Claude. Yesterday, I have it every day. Actually, it's not even every day. It's not even every hour. It's every minute now. I have a project club that's running. Come on, you're catching on. Just a little bit slow, that's all. So they did it. And this is important for Anthropic. They reached an agreement. They announced the deal. Basically, Micron will supply them. It's more about memory specialized for AI. It's not exactly an exclusive deal, but a signed contract. And when you sign, you play the game, as they say. We're talking about tens of billions at stake. So for analysts, we have Bank of America, which is now targeting $1,500 for Micron. It's really the bank. It's the most optimistic, much more so than all the others who are saying, yes, it's good for now. But there's a risk of a slowdown because AI companies won't be able to keep raising funds endlessly. They're burning through $2 billion. Just the American AI companies alone are consuming $2 billion a day. Just to give you an idea, France's ambitious grand AI plan is currently set to involve, an investment of roughly 800 million euros spread out over the next 3 or 4 years. That's it. That's all there is to say. It's over. Game over for Europe. All right, let's move on to technical analysis, even if we might be the smartest in the world. But when you have 2 euros to work with, and you give the dumbest people in the world 200,000 euros to work with, still, it's the dumbest people in the world who at some point will end up finding something. That's it. That's all for now. And the brain power on both sides is about the same. But the United States, in any case, crushes everyone when it comes to brain power. It's not that Americans are smarter than others. They're just bigger than everyone else. If we found a detail to be able to identify them, no, it's that smart people will go looking for them. You have 100% of the Nobel Prizes. Nobel Prizes. That's it. It's not just anybody. American Nobel Prize winners, I think since the 1980s, so over the last 40 years, they were all born abroad. They're all brilliant students who are picked up in India, picked up in Europe, picked up in China, picked up in Japan. So let's build horror bridges, guys. Of course they accept, because the goal of their life is still to do research, not to fill out European paperwork to maybe get something in 6 months. A budget of 2,000 euros to maybe get the electron microscope they've been waiting for. While in the United States, they can get it with a snap of their fingers, and even a better model. So that's how it is in the United States. They have the power to attract. Above all, they have the money, they have the resources, and they pick the best from all over the world. They have branches everywhere who try to spot the best students, the best researchers, the person who's going to come up with a brilliant invention. Bam, 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 they scoop them up. Come to the United States, work for us, and that strengthens the made in. America brand, boom, 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 that's how it is. And by the way, that's what allows them to have presidents who are future Nobel Prize winners. All right, let's get into the analysis, into the technical analysis.
Here we go.
I'll give you a quick overview and then I'll come back to it. Especially on the Nasdaq, the CAC 40 over the past 2 weeks. It's in the middle of its range, not moving much. It's stuck between 8,350 and 8,400. So it's in a 0.5% range, not doing much. They're waiting for the DAX. On the other hand, it's more in a downward phase. Right now, they're trying to get back above its monthly pivot. It would be good if they could get back above the monthly pivot and hold it. I'm saying for Friday, because otherwise we can see that it could lose ground. It could go down to 1750, which was its rebound zone from Friday, June 24th. That was yesterday. Yes, so yesterday we hit it exactly. Because Wednesday actually. Okay, great. Today is Thursday, so it was Wednesday. So on its rebound zone at 24.1750. I often talk about the 750 level, not just on all indices, but on the DAX, on the Nasdaq, the 7 and 750. That's worth taking a look. We bounced right off it on the DAX, so why not on the other indices too? It's not for nothing. I've been trading for over 30 years and have tens of thousands of hours of experience. And on the Dow Jones, well, the Dow Jones is at its peak, maxed out, very positive. For now, it keeps bouncing off its resistance level. On a monthly basis, there are no negative signs on the Dow Jones. Ideally, there would be a small pullback, and that pullback would be around 52,000. And then, if they try to bounce back, it's worth it, because they are. It's in great shape, really in great shape. As for our Nasdaq, yesterday it hit its lowest point at 262. If I remember correctly, we bounced off the monthly middle S1, but be careful, that rebound was very hard to catch. It's not like we touched it, hesitated for 10 seconds, and then shot back up. We stagnated, which feels like an eternity for a scalper. For more than 5 minutes, about 5 or 6 minutes, we stagnated before starting to move again. Micron's results came out. Boom, we went up, gaining almost 2.5% in a straight line, 2.5% for the entire index. And Micron went from up 6% to up 12%. It's moving a lot. They're either extremely optimistic, or it's really a major company for the future. They have significantly gained since then. Since the beginning of the year, Micron has gained 300%. So there are still some great things happening at this level. Personally, I'd like it to come back down to last week's low. Now, I think that's just wishful thinking, but there you go. A man without hope, well, you always need to have some, always have levels. It seems low to me. It seems low compared to the enthusiasm around Micron. But if we do hit last week's low, with all the energy they have, there's a good chance for a strong rebound, maybe grabbing hundreds of points. So that's what I'm hoping for, even if I don't really believe it. The more likely scenario is that we might go back down, drop a bit below 30,200, and then try to break out to maybe reach the middle and healthy. Of the week. And 250, maybe even more. If there's a surge, at least try to go for that, though that would probably come later. Actually, it would even be during the opening of the U.S. markets, so in a few hours. And if on Monday this PCE at 2:30 p.m. is good, and we'll look at that right after, Monday is special. And it's a non-stop roller coaster. It's not at all the same trajectory as its buddy, the Nasdaq is rather at the bottom of its range, right at the monthly S1 support. It's trying to find support there, so there's much less momentum on the S&P 500. That tells us just one thing. On the Nasdaq, they bought the top. On the Nasdaq, that's the one where they're buying the top of the spectrum, the top 5 or 6, Nvidia and the like. Well, listen, it just keeps dropping. We've fallen below 4,000 now. It's trying to hold the 4,000 level, but there's more fear in the markets. The Strait of Hormuz situation, listen, oil's at its lowest. So that means things are moving. If I remember correctly, 20 million barrels of oil passed through yesterday. We're seeing traffic at about 25, 30, 35, 40%. The Iranian mines, we can't find them. There's a very strong chance we've never had before. But caution was necessary. So there you go, gold look, over 2 months, that's lost value, 20%. It's not even a rebound zone for now. We actually still hit the absolute yearly low on gold earlier this week, so you should definitely never buy at a yearly low like that. You wait for at least a rebound, and right now there isn't any, so keep an eye on Bitcoin. Well, it's at its lowest point in 2 months. It's desperately trying to stay above 60,000, so it bounced. A few hours ago, right there, here too it was hit. Its lowest point, its yearly low. A small rebound. But still, here too, it doesn't seem to be in good shape. And then the cherry on top, look at this, it's not great news. The barrel of oil, WTI, my favorite barrel of oil, it's the one that smells the best. No, I just specialized in it at university, that's all. It was either that or Brent. Well, I told myself I'll study this instead. WTI is Texas, it's foreign. And then I could go to the United States instead, because, well, if it's to go to the North Sea, that's a bit less fun. So, a drop, you could almost call it divvying. We've gone from, in just a few hours, we went from $68 to below $60, from $78 to below $70. So we're seeing a drop here. I'm a bit tired, so doing mental math right now could be rough, about 12%, 13%. And so, again, don't rush to buy a barrel of oil right now. Not at all, that's not it. So here it is, the agenda for today, Thursday at 2:30 p.m. It's strategic. There are a lot of indicators coming out at the same time, but most importantly, we have the PCE, which is the Fed's preferred inflation indicator, and it's being released at the same time as others. The U.S. gross domestic product for the first quarter, durable goods orders, jobless claims, because it's Thursday, and every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. we have jobless claims. So there's a whole package, but what will really be watched is the PCE. If we have Micron making a lot of money, and on top of that there's no inflation, it means that rates can stay low. That will be their bullish jaya. If, on the other hand, the PCE shows that there is inflation, which could be significant, then they will be much, much, much less joyful. Our little ad of the day, well, there isn't one, because that's it. All the spots for the seminar are sold out. It's over. I won't talk to you about it anymore. And it was, in principle, I think, the last in-person seminar I'll do for health and contamination reasons. So now I'll be doing online seminars. A week online, that's it. And it will be during the All Saints' Day holidays. You can already contact me to sign up. Spots are always extremely limited, a maximum of 10 people. Now, the little anecdote of the day, you're going to see, it's pretty juicy. We're going to talk about memory for a memory anecdote. I know, I said I'm really into it right now. In the 80s at the flea markets, it was really just a basic material at first. It was worth nothing at all, especially since the Japanese got into it. There was an avalanche of Japanese production that made prices totally collapse. So the prices, the churns, memory was worth absolutely nothing. In 1985, it was worth so little that Intel completely abandoned memory production just to survive. Intel in 85. They almost went under, so they said, we're giving up. This will never make any money. There's no point in making memory chips. We'll leave that to the Japanese, the Chinese, and all the rest. It's over for us. And you have a company in Kelly in 1970 in Idaho, in the heart of deep America. We don't really want to get too lost in that. It was a company called Micron, and Micron held on. They kept making memory chips. That was all they knew how to do anyway. They were stubborn. They told themselves, we make memory chips. It's worthless, but we make memory chips. They stuck with it. 40 years later, Micron survived that price carnage, and this survivor is now worth $1 trillion. Artificial intelligence, the sacred king. So you see, sometimes, even without being smart, even in sectors that aren't doing well, who would have said in 1985 that Micron would be worth $1 trillion? If someone gave you a Micron share, you wouldn't even want it. There you go. Well, we're saying goodbye. Well, listen, we're saying goodbye, sending you my best, and I'll see you tomorrow. It'll be Friday, so there will be the Good Morning Trading. Ciao, everyone.